headlines, sorting through the media bias, exposing the propaganda, and challenging you to use your brain. It's time to tap into the truth.
Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is once again time to tap into the truth. Once again, coming to you live from historic Roane County, Tennessee, this is your host, Tim Tapp. Apologies for not being with you here on Spreaker in nearly a week. Been busy working on other projects, and it's taken up a great deal of time. Spreaker is a bit of a hobby for me, and unfortunately, time gets short, and usually it's the hobbies that get hit first. But for those of you who have been long and anxiously awaiting a new broadcast, here we are tonight. We will be discussing more my thoughts and feelings than specific news, although we'll go over the news thoughts in dealing with the new saber rattling coming from North Korea, and of course the fact that a couple of same-sex marriage cases have come before the Supreme Court in this past week, and seems to be a lot of people are hopeful as far as what the Supreme Court's going to find. I'll give you my take on it, and I think a lot of folks are going to be disappointed all the way around. Of course, that's usually the way it is when it comes to the Supreme Court. At least certainly here lately. But first in the news, we will talk about the fact that you're going to be hearing about this, probably a big deal in the next little bit. It seems that the folks staying at Guantanamo Bay are once again unhappy about something. The detainees are claiming that now they're being denied potable water. Of course, our boys in uniform are denying that particular charge. But here's the long and the short of it. This story coming out of Miami. The Guard Force commander at Guantanamo Bay said this past Thursday that there's nothing wrong with the tap water there, despite prisoner claims to the contrary. Water is distilled at the U.S. base in Cuba and checked at least once a month to make sure it's safe, according to Army Colonel John Bogdan. He's the current CEO there. CEO, sorry. Spent too much time away from military, too much time in business here recently. The current CO, he's the commanding officer of the base. It is the same water that I drink daily, Bogdan said in a sworn statement. The government filed a statement Thursday in federal court in Washington in response to claims by prisoners that they've been denied potable drinking water and that the air conditioning was being kept frigid to punish them during a hunger strike. Defense lawyers for the inmates, interesting wording, funny how the media still portrays them like they're just common everyday prisoners rather than enemy combatants and prisoners of war. Anyway, I digress. The defense lawyers for the inmates filed an emergency motion in federal court after interviewing Yemeni prisoner Musab al-Madawana. And that was back on Monday. He had told them guards were refusing to provide bottled water and telling prisoners to drink from tap water that the inmates believe is non-potable. Oh, well, just because the inmates believe that it's true, that must be the case. The U.S. military disputes the claims and says prisoners are also offered bottled water. 33 of the 166 prisoners are on a hunger strike, according to the military. A federal judge noted the conflicting accounts and scheduled a hearing in his Washington courtroom for April 15th. Now, Maury Newman, a human rights lawyer based in Denver, said she spoke to al-Mahwani on Thursday by phone, and he said he's now receiving bottled water. But she said he claimed the guards were withholding water from other detainees. Okay, so that's the story. That's the way it's being reported. And as you can tell, once again, there is this slant to try and make you think that these are just regular, everyday, average, ordinary prisoners who are being held just like someone who popped a liquor store or somebody who snatched a purse. Let's not forget, people, that number one, every single person at Guantanamo Bay that's still there are enemy combatants. They were picked up in combat operations. They were trying to kill innocent people, and they were trying to kill American soldiers in the process. These are not nice people. These are not criminals. These are not people that are guaranteed protected rights under our Constitution. They are, in fact, people that we have dealt with through military tribunals for the better part of 200 years. So, forgive me if I don't exactly shed a tear at the fact that they believe some water isn't potable. Now, far be it for me to crack on folks here in the States, but, you know, a lot of us don't exactly have the best tasting or the best smelling or certainly the most wonderful and tasteful tap water here in the States. That's part of the reason why so many people use bottled water around here. But it doesn't make it unsafe. There are standards that are in place, and I have every confidence that most of us are receiving safe-to-drink tap water, even if it wouldn't be our first choice for a source of water. These people have been trying to kill Americans for a very long time, and would kill every American they saw given half an opportunity, even now. Their detainment is something of a safety issue for all the freedom-loving world. So I'm not going to feel too bad that their water maybe doesn't taste as good as it should, and that they're not being offered bottled water a whole bunch. But if they have been offered bottled water, and evidently this guy has admitted he started getting bottled water, then there's really no reason to complain about it, is there? Just clog up our court system and give these people preferential treatment and attempt to offer them the very same rights, constitutionally rights, that our government is trying to strip away from our regular, everyday citizenry. I mean, what the crap, people? At some point, we've got to realize people that are not citizens and don't belong here are not guaranteed these rights. Not that I necessarily don't deem them worthy, but the fact that if you want to make the argument that the Constitution and these rights, these basic human rights that we cling to, should apply to all people, fine, but be consistent with it and continue to offer that to the American citizens who actually are guaranteed those rights. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Stop attacking the Second Amendment, stop attacking the 14th Amendment, stop attacking the First Amendment, and let's just get back to being American, shall we? And let's not forget either the fact that all these folks that are on a hunger strike down there right now, they're on a hunger strike because they believe that the guards mishandled their Qurans. Well, they wouldn't have to handle their Qurans at all if they weren't busy trying to mutilate these documents themselves in order to send codes and messages back and forth. Yeah, that's right. We're on to you, little Shabazz Malik. We're on to you. Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling about that, and let's go ahead and take a look at the stories as they're being reported with North Korea. Now, if you happen to have been under a rock for the last week or so, you may not know that currently the United States and South Korea are in joint military operations, and that this usually, whenever we do anything with South Korea or anything with Japan, which we typically do annually, this usually gets the attention of North Korea, and North Korea dictatorship in the past have always taken that opportunity to say, "Ooh, your aggressiveness does not go unnoticed, blah, blah, blah. We will strike back with ferocity and do not, blah, 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 blah." And yeah, it got to the point with Kim Jong-il, the previous dictator there, that it almost became like the adults in the Peanuts cartoons. He would be talking in a North Korean accent, of course, but it was basically just wah, 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 wah. Why? Because he always said the same things, and ultimately he only wanted attention. We knew at that point in time that China, who still big brother to North Korea, and the ultimate reason why we in South Korea or Japan haven't just went in and whooped their butts already and said, you know what, be done with it. They've usually kept them on a tight enough leash in the past that we didn't really have to be overly concerned about it. We just had to keep an eye out for those occasional cross-border skirmishes between the North and the South, and which actually, despite the fact that you very rarely heard about it, from what I understand with some folks who serve there and have discussed it with me, so a few friends both from the Air Force and from the Army, this kind of thing, they actually had skirmishes on a fairly regular basis. Towards the end of Il's life, they had kind of backed down a little bit, and it actually seemed to have been pretty calm up until recently when Kim Jong-un has decided that he wants to kind of go psycho. I don't know if Dennis Rodman's visit had anything to do with this, but Homecut seems to think that he has to do the same kind of thing that his daddy used to do every time this happened, only he's escalated it and he's taken it much further because he's actually shown a certain level of forcefulness and preparedness, and cut off communication with the South, and they've cut off all the ways to transport back and forth, and they've basically shut down the demilitarized zone, and the whole thing seems to be escalating, and you almost have to wonder if this guy might not be just a little bit serious. But here's the way it's being reported. North Korean leader Kim Jong-un warned Friday, that would still be today technically, that his rocket forces were ready to settle accounts with the U.S. That's a quote, by the way. Not real sure what he thinks we need to settle, but at any rate, unleashing a new round of rhetoric after the U.S. nuclear-capable B-2 bombers dropped dummy munitions in a joint drill with South Korea. Kim's warning and the litany of threats that have preceded it, like I said earlier, this has been going on for a while. It's just getting more and more ratcheted up. Anyway, all these threats don't indicate an imminent war. In fact, they're most likely meant to coerce South Korea into softening its policies, win direct talks and aid from Washington, and strengthen the young leader's credentials and image at home. Okay, well, this is saying basically politics as usual. This is what Kim Jong-il used to do all the time. He never took it to this extent, but I'll continue with the reporting. But the threats from North Korea and rising animosity from the rivals that have followed UN sanctions over North Korea's February 12th nuclear test do raise worries of a misjudgment leading to a clash. I love how they write this stuff. This is poetic, and yet still seems to be trying to protect and calm everyone down. Protect North Korea and calm everyone down here. We don't need to pay attention to this guy. That's what they're saying here. Anyway, I'll continue. Kim convened an urgent operation meeting of senior generals just after midnight, signed a rocket preparation plan, and ordered his forces to stand by to strike the U.S. mainland, South Korea, Guam, and Hawaii.